start by introducing myself to you all. I'm Sue. I'm a stepmom, a grandmother, a daughter, a wife, a data manager, a counsellor, and sometimes a trainer. I enjoy going for really long walks in the countryside with my two dogs. Well, when they're behaving themselves, I enjoy going for long walks in the countryside with them. I'm a keen gardener, enjoy DIY, and have a pretty eclectic taste in music. I've worked for the post office, a hospital, in schools, and for the last 14 years in a pupil referral unit with young people, right from the ages of 5 up to 16. Oh, and did I mention I'm a lesbian? But what has that got to do with anything, some of you may be wondering? Heterosexuals don't go around disclosing their sexuality to everyone, so why do you feel the need to do so? Actually, heterosexuals do frequently disclose the fact that they are heterosexual in many ways without even realising it. Every time a man mentions his wife or girlfriend, every time a woman mentions her husband or boyfriend, each time people refer to the person they love, fancy, are going out with, using the opposite pronoun to themselves, so he instead of she instead of he. They are disclosing the fact that they are heterosexual. The difference is, heterosexuals do this without even thinking about it, without embarrassment, and without the fear of negative reactions from others. Whereas for people who identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual, we're constantly thinking ahead, changing gender pronouns much of the time, worrying about, is it safe to walk down the street holding my partner's hand? Who's coming round the next corner? Is it still safe to hold their hand, or should I be letting go of it? Is it okay to mention my partner's name in public around other people? Will I have a negative reaction? That's the reality I live with each and every day when I'm out with Claire, my partner. Because despite all of the changes in the law and in people's attitudes towards sexuality over recent years in the UK, we do still live in a heterosexist society. A society or a country where heterosexual is deemed the norm. It's deemed acceptable. In fact, it's the only widely accepted manifestation of love. We're a country where all that is not heterosexual is devalued, stigmatised, seen as unnatural or a choice. Did you know it was only 25 years ago that homosexuality was declassified as a mental disorder in the UK? I'm 50 years old. I know, it's hard to believe it, but it's true. A couple of weeks ago, I turned 50. So when I was 25, I suddenly went from being seen as having a mental disorder to not being mentally ill. Wow, it just disappeared overnight. It was fantastic. As we'll be hearing throughout today, young people want to have that sense of belonging. They want to feel accepted at home, at school, within their families, within their peer groups. However, many young people who identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual feel different to others. They feel fearful of being open about their sexuality and about who they really are. But why is that? Young people in the UK today are growing up in a culture where negative attitudes towards homosexuality are learnt by the age of 10. By 10 years of age, children have learnt that gay equals bad and that being gay is a bad thing. You know, on an almost daily basis at work at the pupil referral unit that I'm working in, I hear pupils making comments like, "Ugh, you're gay," or "That's so gay." And I'm not alone in hearing this. Nationally, 99% of LGBT pupils state hearing those phrases. You could think that, well, that's just LGBT pupils, they are going to like say that. But in a survey by Stonewall in 2014, 70% of primary school teachers, that's 7 out of 10 primary school teachers and 9 out of 10 secondary school teachers reported hearing the same phrases regularly in their schools. 96% of LGBT pupils, 32% of primary teachers, and 65% of secondary teachers also reported hearing phrases used by the pupils or terms such as faggot, queer, batty man, lesbo, and many others which I'm not actually going to repeat. Again, on a regular basis, amongst the corridors, in the classrooms, in the school halls. Worryingly, in that same survey, over half of the secondary teachers and just under half of the primary teachers stated they do not challenge homophobic language every time they hear it. But it's not just the young people who use the homophobic language. In that same survey again, a third of the secondary teachers and just under a third of the primary teachers stated hearing negative comments about LGBT individuals or homophobic language used by school staff. So these are the staff who are working in the schools. What must that feel like for a young person to experience that every single day? I want to quote Sophie, who's 15. It's not what they say to me individually that gets to me. It's the constant stream of anti-gay remarks that people don't even realise they're making. I feel awful all the time. It eats away inside of me. And sometimes, knowing what they would do to me if they knew that I was gay, it makes me lose the ability to breathe. Much of the time, the homophobic comments and phrases that are used are not directed at an actual individual's perceived or actual sexuality, but they are used as a negative word. They're used as a derogatory term to imply that something's inferior, less than something else. How many times do we hear the phrases like, oh, those trainers are so gay, meaning those trainers aren't as good as the trainers that I've got on. Again, it's referring to somebody who is LGBT or even questioning their sexuality. All that's saying to them is, you're no good, you're worthless, you're not as important. It adds to and deepens the child's belief that gay equals bad, negative, and something to fear. So the stigma and negativity towards homosexuality comes before the child has even started to discover their own sexuality. So for those young people who then go on and begin to realise that actually they are attracted to people of the same sex, they see themselves as one of the bad people. Feelings of shame, guilt, and disgust emerge, leading them to deny and hide their true being, their true sexuality. It's not helped by the fact that in many, many schools, same-sex relationships are not mentioned throughout the curriculum or in any part of the curriculum. Many churches still regard homosexuality as unnatural or a sin. And across all media studies, and this is a report by the BBC who surveyed it a couple of years ago, across all media, lesbian, gay and bisexual individuals are virtually invisible, even in today's society. And where they are visible is usually in things like the soaps, where they do some big dramatisation and there's always a crisis and there's always something wrong. It's never just an ordinary fact of life that same-sex couples, bisexuals are just normal, everyday people like everyone else. I grew up in a religious family. We went to church every Sunday, and I learned from a very young age that homosexuality is abhorrent. Imagine what that's like. I hid my sexuality from everyone for many, many years. I kept it a deeply held secret because I was terrified. I desperately, like John was saying earlier, I wanted to fit in, I wanted to feel accepted, I wanted to belong. And I knew that if anyone found out about my sexuality, or if I acted upon my sexuality, I would be rejected. The church would throw me out. Actually, when they found out subsequently, many, many years later, the minister, I must admit, was brilliant. He didn't throw me out, and he was really there for me. The wider congregation, different matter altogether, but at least the minister stood up and could be counted on, and I really appreciated his support. But I was ashamed of my sexuality growing up. I did believe that there was something really badly wrong with me. I knew I was living a lie. I knew I was being a fraud. But that sense of having to belong was so strong, I couldn't do it any other way. I pretended to be straight. I saw myself as a nobody, worthless, and so sick and so bad that nobody could ever love me. Nobody would ever accept me. Happiest day of my life was in 2000, and I've got to get this right, otherwise I will be shot later. 13? What are we now, 17? Yeah, 2013. London Zoo. First Monday of half term. Myself and Claire had our civil partnership. I thought that day would never come. Not because I didn't think that Claire would ever marry me, but because I thought I never believed that anyone could be there for me. Claire was. Changed my life completely. That was 10 years prior to that, but still that is a resounding memory that I will hold forever, alongside the embarrassment of walking around a zoo dressed up in your finery when it is heaving with school children because it's the first day of the school holidays and the zoo is open. It was a good day. Some of you I know were there, and it was great. It was really good. It's hard to develop self-worth, self-confidence, and a sense of belonging when you grow up believing a fundamental part of yourself is shameful, disgusting, and shouldn't exist. School life is an important part in all young people's lives. Love it or hate it, all kids between the age of 5 and 16 have to go to school. For many lesbian, gay and bisexual pupils, it is a living nightmare. To quote some phrases from some of the young people, Joe, 15, he has books thrown at him in lessons while the teachers say nothing. Ellie, 14, cries herself to sleep at night, every night, and is too scared to go back to school since her best friend went round and told everyone that she was a lesbian. Max has been spat at, kicked, sprayed with deodorant, just because he's perceived as being gay. He isn't, but he's perceived to being gay. Caitlin, aged 11, pupils in her class laugh at her because she's got short hair. I've got short hair. Why is that a laughable thing? Her friends gossip about, well, not friends, but people in her classmates gossip about her, make comments about her behind her back. And every day, Raj, who's 16, faces some sort of homophobic abuse. He's been chased home from school on many an occasion with people threatening to beat him up. And last year he was nearly run over by 2 lads in their car who thought it would be fun to try and hit him. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Each year in the UK, 72,000 young LGBT individuals experience homophobic bullying. That is a massive number. Verbal bullying, physical bullying, and cyberbullying is massively on the increase. However, 60%, that is 6 out of every 10 LGBT pupils, state that teachers who witness the homophobic bullying never intervene. What's that look like? You're being bullied because of your actual or your perceived sexuality. Teachers see it happening right in front of them, and it's not just teachers, it can be any school staff. But the adults see it happening right in front of them, and they ignore it. They do nothing. What message does that give to the bullies? And more importantly, what message does that give to the person who is being bullied? What effect does it have on their education? 4 out of every 10 lesbian, gay and bisexual pupils regularly skip school because of the homophobic bullying they experience. And 1/3 of LGBT pupils subsequently change their plans for future education and completely drop out of education as soon as they reach 16. Limits their choices in life later on. Some will then go on further down the line to be engaged with education, but 1/3 of LGBT pupils drop out of education completely age 16. But it's not just about their education. What about their mental health? Bullying has a massive effect on their mental health. 46%, that's almost half of LGBT pupils, have symptoms of depression. 56% deliberately self-harm, and that's compared to just 10% of young people in general. Massive disproportion. LGBT young people are 7 times more likely to take drugs or drink excessively. And more than 21,000 LGBT young people under the age of 20 attempt suicide every year in the UK. 21,000. Too many succeed. In the recent months and over the last couple of years, Dominic, aged 16, Julia, aged 15, Jaden, again 15, Chloe, 15, and Aidan, who was 14. That was just about a month ago. These are real people, real children. Because of the homophobic bullying they will experience, succeeded in healing themselves. Their lives were wiped out. So what can we do? What should we do? Whether we're teachers, parents, colleagues, friends, ministers, youth workers, whoever we are, whether we're straight or gay, it is all our responsibility to challenge homophobic language whenever and wherever we hear it. To say to the bullies, it is not okay. This is not acceptable behaviour. To make sure that LGBT young people feel safe, supported and included. By not buying into the belief that sexuality is a choice, or that homosexuality, which I have heard so many times over my lifetime, oh, it's just a phase, you'll grow out of it. What, like heterosexuality is a phase that you can grow out of? People don't seem to believe that, so why is it true on the other flip side? We need to stand alongside young people who are either identifying as lesbian, gay or bisexual, or questioning it. Stand alongside to them, listen to them, support them. Letting them know it's okay to be who they are. Yes, by challenging misconceptions. By letting them know there is nothing wrong with being lesbian, gay, bisexual, and dare I say it, even heterosexual. There is nothing wrong in it. When I was a teenager, I felt there was no one I could talk to about my sexuality. There was no one to hear my struggles, no one to hold my hand, no one to wipe away my tears, no one to say, hey, it's okay. We've come a long way since I was a teenager. Many things have changed. Attitudes are changing towards sexuality. But still today, in 2017, 40% of LGBT young people feel they do not have an adult at home, at school, or anywhere where they can talk to about their sexuality or questions around sexuality. Our challenge is to be that person. To be the person who says to young people, you are important, you are valued, you do belong. Thank you.